Mark Mazzaferro, Public Information Officer for the City of Vacaville, and this is another edition of Word on the Street. Now, I know in our last episode I said it was the last episode of Word on the Street, but that was with Police Chief Rich Word. Today we have our new police chief, interim police chief, Randy Ulibarri. Randy, thank you for taking some time out of your day.
Mark, my pleasure. Thank you.
And we'd like to kind of introduce you to our audience. I think Word on the Street is one of our highest rated shows. People are, public safety's big in Vacaville, okay. I'm sure you're finding out. People stop me on the street and say, hey, I saw you on Word on the Street. The former police chief would hear it as well. So we decided we definitely want to keep it going. Good. But today we want to meet you and find out about you and how you got here and all that rot. So why don't you tell us about yourself? I know you were in Union City for quite a long time, but start at the beginning.
Okay, so my career started in Union City in 1976. Hired as a patrol officer like everybody starts, and spent 10 years as an officer, and during that time I was on the SWAT team. I was a field training officer and spent 3 years in investigations doing rape, robbery, and homicides. And then 1986 I was promoted to the rank of sergeant and went on patrol as a watch commander. And also while I was a sergeant, I was then promoted to the SWAT team leader. Also, I did crime prevention and also 4 years in personnel and training. And then while in crime prevention, it's the time we transitioned our department from traditional policing to community-oriented policing and problem solving. So it was a very interesting time to be.
And that was 90s, early 90s?
That was, yeah, from, let's see, I was sergeant from 86 to 95. So we were transitioning to community policing right about 93, 94.
And community policing is like neighborhood watch and more involvement from residents, that kind of thing?
Really, it's working with the community to identify and solve problems. You know, traditional policing, we get a radio call, we go out, we handle the call, and then we wait for the next radio call or self-initiate activity. But with community policing, you're meeting with neighborhood groups, community-based organizations, whomever has a vested interest in that community to find out what the problems are and what's the best solutions to these problems.
Sure,
and
proactive instead of reactive.
Right, and you're looking for long-term solutions and not short-term solutions.
How many folks were in Union City?
We were 80 sworn, 40 non-sworn, so total was about 120.
And population of Union City?
Population at the time, 75,000.
Okay, so comparable to Vacaville in a lot of ways.
It's as if it's on a universe, I mean a parallel universe.
Okay, so you're moving up in the department, and then one day the chief opening?
Well, after I was a sergeant, then I promoted to lieutenant. I was a lieutenant for 2 years, assigned to internal affairs investigations. They sugarcoated it by calling it professional standards, but it was internal affairs, which was very interesting because it gave me a whole different perspective to the police officer Bill of Rights, the disciplinary process, and so on and so forth. So I was a lieutenant for 2 years, and then the captain's position came open. Promoted for captain, tested for captain, promoted to captain. And I was the captain for 2 years. First I had Field Operations Division, then Support Services Division, and then at one point in time, both divisions because the other captain was put on a special project. So the 2 years that I was a captain was a very intensive period of time, I bet. But very rewarding. And that's when the
chief position opened up?
The chief position opened up.
Was that your career goal to be chief in Union City, or?
Not initially. I was a little short-sighted early in my career. I wanted to be a sergeant.
To stop all the bad guys, right?
Yeah. You know, it's on the street is where it's happening, and that was very enjoyable, very rewarding. So, but once I became a sergeant, then I realized, no, there's more to this police work than just being a sergeant. And then when this lieutenant's position opened up, that's really when it really broadened out my horizons. And then as I promoted to lieutenant, that's when I knew, okay, I should take this all the way to the top. And you should not promote up unless you want to go all the way to the top.
Yeah, right.
So then when the opportunity became captain, that really solidified my position of promoting. And we were in a very good position where Union City had a rich history, tradition of promoting from within. So the chief that I replaced, he had promoted from within the ranks. I promoted from within the ranks. And then one of my captains succeeded me, and then my second captain succeeded him. So we had 4 chiefs in succession that came up through the ranks.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, as you said, there's a history of that's how they did it, and it makes a lot of sense when you think about it.
Well, you want to recognize and reward loyalty, those who persevere, stay with the department, help the department, they grow with the department, coach, mentor, and develop their subordinates, bring them along.
Right.
So that needs to be recognized and rewarded.
And you know, it's funny. I arrived in late 2006 and 2007, and we did a lot of talk about succession planning here in Vacaville, right? For all departments, not just PD or fire or you know. But when the economy started to go bad and people started, you know, positions were frozen and people started getting laid off or retiring, it was like all these people you thought were going to could move up into these positions left. You know, so there's kind of this weird kind of gap in some of the leadership positions in our city that's starting to recover a little bit now because things are starting to get a little better and people are more comfortable staying as opposed to I need to be able to pay my bills, so on and so forth. But by the same token, it's always good to get an outside set of eyes to look at things. You know, you kind of get in I don't want to say a rut, but you know, a fresh set of eyes is always good, and I think that's part of why you're here too. Is kind of take a look at a department and what our practices and things that are good, things that are bad. Am I right? Or
no, you're right on the mark. And when I interviewed for this position, Laura Kuhn, the city manager, asked me to do this specifically: is to come in, be a fresh set of eyes, and give her an objective overview of the status of the department, and really deliver the news, the good, the bad, the ugly, and share that with her, and help with the next step of the new chief coming in and taking Vacaville Police Department to the next level, and what that would entail.
Right.
So my role, Mark, is really to set the table for the new chief, and that's what I'm doing right now. Is coming in, identifying those little issues, challenges that I can handle on my watch until the new chief arrives. And if I can't handle it on my watch, at least identify what those issues are and strategize some long-term solutions that he or she may want to take to help alleviate or deal with those issues.
Okay, so you're at Union City for 30 years and you retire.
Yes.
And I'm sure they had a big party and a parade and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, marching bands a little bit.
Okay, great. Terrific. And then
it was like the Rose Bowl parade.
Yeah, it was probably very similar, yeah. Yeah, right. So anyway, so after 30 years you retire, and how long was it before you jumped back into it?
Exactly 4 months.
4 months, wow. So...
and this was
you were all rested up.
I was all rested up. It was funny. I had retired. I was looking forward to retirement. The 30 years was a lot of fun. I always told myself I bled Union City blue, and when I hung up my gun belt, I thought I was hanging up for the last time. I ran the good race, and it was all over. And that was going into world of retirement. My wife was still working, and a little town in the Central Valley called Newman, which I didn't know where it was. I had to look up on the map. They just needed somebody to come in, excuse me, and run the department, not the town, excuse me, run the department for the city manager, Michael Hall.
I was going to say,
he would laugh when
hope he doesn't see that. Yeah.
He sees this one. Just run the department for 3 or 4 months. They were already in a selection process, and they figured they had the chief on in very short order. So I thought, well, my wife's still working, small little town, why not? Let's do it.
What's the harm?
What's the harm? So I went down, interviewed with the city manager, great interview, nice town, and really enjoyed it. But the 3 to 4 months turned out to be a full year because that recruitment didn't pass. I mean,
the person they had kind of lined
they were
up
looking at didn't work out. They did a second recruitment, and you know how much time that takes. That didn't work out. Then we had to get special permission from PERS to allow me to stay another 6 months because the city manager didn't want to break the leadership.
Let's keep things even more turmoil. Yeah.
So that turned out to be an entire year, which was a great experience. A great town out in the Central Valley, like Mayberry RFD. You have the Main Street.
Your deputy had one bullet? Is that
Yes.
it wasn't quite that close.
And we passed it from shift
everybody
to
shared.
shift.
Okay. All right.
We had a limited budget.
Anyway.
So I tell the city manager that the 1 year I spent in Newman was the longest decade of my life.
Yeah, nice.
So it was a good experience. We started a K-9 program while we were there. It was fully funded by donations from the community. The community was very benevolent, and so it was a great experience. Then that position ended. I went back into retirement, and about 3 years later, my phone rang, and it was a recruiter looking for an interim police chief for Folsom. So I interviewed for that position, and was interim chief in Folsom for 6 months, and helped them while they were doing their selection process.
Sure.
And again, another personally enriching, professionally rewarding experience. Liked the community so much, my wife and I moved to Folsom as a result of that.
Wow.
And that assignment finished up, and it was exactly 3 years to the day that Vacaville called, and I came down and interviewed for the position and was appointed interim chief.
Now, okay, and I'm not trying to be funny here. Your wife didn't have anything to do with.
Oh, my wife had everything to do with that.
Oh, okay. I mean, hey, look at this, honey. Here's a job. They're looking for an interim guy.
Well, first of all, I've been married for 40 years, to my high school sweetheart, and she knows the life she's going to live when I'm a police chief. Because my favorite expression is, as a chief, I only have to work half days, 12 hours a day.
Right, exactly, yeah.
And that's basically a minimum day. And then on the weekends, you're taking phone calls, answering emails.
Right.
So I needed to make sure my wife was ready for that again. So when Vacaville called and asked if I was interested, I turned to my wife and said, well, am I interested?
Yeah, right. I'm interested, right? No? Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And it was with her blessing, without a doubt. She says, go ahead. We don't have anything going on right now, so let's see what happens.
And I would imagine, I mean, again, I was joking, but that's kind of a big decision.
It's huge.
Obviously, you would have talked to your spouse, man or woman, either way, about something like this. Honey, guess what? I'm unretired. I forgot to tell you, I got to go to work tomorrow.
Exactly, and we're both retired. So, and we play golf 3 or 4 times a week. We kayak, we fish. We're always outdoors. We're always doing something together. So now this creates a big gap in her life, and I have to make sure she's prepared for that.
Right.
And she's a good woman. To stay with me for 40 years, she's a good woman.
She's this close to sainthood. Yes. How? And I barely know you, Randy. Who's the better golfer?
Why do you have to ask me that on camera?
That's a fair question.
In front of this entire community.
Well, a lot of golfers that watch our show, they're curious.
Well, when we get down to our handicaps, I'll beat her by 1 stroke, or she might beat me by 1 or 2 strokes.
All right.
So we're
pretty even.
Pretty even when you get down to the handicaps.
Head down, left arm straight, swing easy.
There you go.
Anyway, that's all I know about golf. Well, cool. And you have a family. You have a couple of sons, right?
Yes, we have 3 boys. Michael is the oldest, 35, lives in Korea. He's been in Korea for about 12 years. He went there 1 year to teach English, and we thought he'd do the cultural exchange and come home, but fell in love with the country, and then fell in love with his future wife. And we have 1 granddaughter, and we're expecting a second granddaughter January 21st of all goes well.
Wow, it's right around the corner.
Right around the corner.
Excellent.
Yes. So, and then we have twin boys, David and Andrew. They're 32. David lives in San Luis Obispo. He's married, and they have a son. So that's our second grandchild. One granddaughter, 1 grandson. And then Andrew lives in San Jose. He got married in July of this year, and his wife is Elvia. Elvia is from El Salvador. David's wife, Felicia, is from Italy. She's Italian. And Michael's wife, Ji Young, is from Korea. So we have Asia covered, we have Europe
Quite
covered, and we have
every major
Central South
continent
America
pretty much
covered.
is part of the family. That's good. The true melting pot. Now, are any of them police officers or?
No, no.
Okay. I thought every chief's kid became a cop.
I think they saw the insanity and decided to stay away
I want a
from
real
it.
job. Yeah, regular, normal job. Yeah. Well, not a real
Yeah.
job, but yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah. Wow. So, I mean, did they ever think about, Dad, you know, I want to, or
Well,
did you
you
talk
know,
about it, or?
Yeah, Andrew and David thought about it and looked into it, but then they decided, nah, we'll want to do something else. We want to do something with hours that are pretty, you know, what we call normal hours.
Nobody calls you at 3 a.m. When you're a teacher.
Exactly right.
You know, unless it's some crazy kid who wants, what's our homework assignment for? But anyway, all right. So you've been in Vacaville now for what, 2 months, 3 months?
Yeah, I started November 18th. I had a week and a half with Chief Word before he retired. So, and then
and we swore you in.
Swore me in.
Ceremonies at City Hall.
Swore at me, and here I am.
Very moving, yeah. So what have you seen in the, you know, okay, granted, it's a month, really. What can you tell us so far? What are your initial impressions of the department, the city, you know, things like that?
The department, well-run department, well-managed. You got so many good cops. It's unbelievable. The work that they do on a daily basis, the service they provide to this community is phenomenal. You know, this is January 2nd, and over the weekend we had a couple major cases, and the way that we responded to those cases and handled those cases is just a typical way Vacaville Police Department handles their day-to-day activities.
Right.
So the citizens of Vacaville are blessed to have the officers that they have, and not only the officers, but the civilian professional support staff also. And it's a well-run, well-managed organization.
The whole department is pretty top-notch. I mean, I'm no professional cop, right? I mean, but I've worked in cities for a while now, and they're a pretty impressive group over there, aren't they?
And when I come into the department, I always look at through a jaundiced eye. Okay, what's going on here? What's the real deal? Is this a facade? Do I have to peel away the layers of the onion? Not in this situation at all. What you see is what you get.
Yeah. Well, you got good, like I said, you got good command staff folks. The civilian folks are great. You know, it's a really good, strong department. It's the department I could see a lot of folks wanting to lead, both internally and externally.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah, there's Vacaville Police Department has a lot going for it, and then the community at large. Great community. People here are so friendly, it's unbelievable. Everybody has gone out of their way to make me feel welcome.
Good.
Both within the department, within the city government, and in the community itself.
So, okay, it's been a month, a little over a month. Have you gone home and said to your wife, you know, honey, maybe I should apply for this job?
You know, Mark, I would have that conversation, but if I did, I think it would turn my wife into a housekeeper. She would divorce me and keep the house.
Oh, I see. Yeah, of course. Chief's got a sense of humor. Bada la bing. Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay.
No, it would be such a huge commitment of my time, and when I jump into one of these assignments, I don't put my toes in the water. I jump in the deep end head first, and it would be a 5-year commitment. I would not come in and make a 1 year or 2 year commitment.
I mean, I was just kidding, really. Obviously, you've been there, you've done that. You're helping us out to get through this period, and your goal is not to be chief of police of the city of Vacaville.
Oh no.
You've done that. You're helping, and like I said, it's great.
Well, you know, and it's nice to be able to give back. I've been the recipient of the law enforcement, and law enforcement's been very good to me and my family. But to be able to come in and help out a department, help out a community, and just, you know, the expression I use is I don't have a dog in this fight. I don't have a horse in this race. I just want what's best for this department, what's best for this community.
Right.
And to be objective and not subjective in how I view things. And the questions I ask of the command staff and the sergeants and the troops, they're probing questions, and it's not, we're not doing anything wrong. It's just, why are we doing the things we're doing? How do we get to in the situation we're in? So in that way, I have a better understanding of what are some of the possible solutions? You know, people want to solve problems before they really understand the problem.
Right.
And the only way you can understand the problem is to ask those probing questions, and then, you know, verify what you're hearing from different sources.
Right.
And then when you hear the same themes, you say, okay, now I really have a grip on what the problem is. And not what are just solutions, but what are real solutions to this, and what would work in this type of a situation. So that's how I look at issues and challenges.
We're glad you're here. You come highly recommended. There's a lady in the office next to me who worked in Folsom for a few years and said, "Oh, Randy, yeah, he's going to be great. Did you ever meet him?" Nah. So, you know, what greater endorsement can somebody have? No, I'm just kidding.
I paid her great money to say that.
Then she tucked in something into her wallet. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. But welcome aboard.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
As you said, we have a great department. I'm sure it'll help us take the next step to find a new chief. Rich Word did a great job. He was much loved in the community, so the bar's set pretty high. But I know you'll do a great job, and I know when we find a replacement for Chief Word, not that Chief Word could ever be replaced, he'll be equal to the challenge. So.
Yes.
So thank you again, and welcome to the city of Vacaville, and good luck out there.
Mark, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Well, that's it for this episode of Word on the Street. We'll see you next time.